Welcome back, friends. It's April. Yeah, I'll jump through March and jumped ahead. Wasn't much going on. Just a little bit of feeding the animals and taking care of that kind of stuff. Let's check the sale here. Is there anything good in here? Potassium chloride for free? How many? 7 bags? 7 bags of fertilizer for free? Hey, I'll take that. I'll have to go to the store and pick that up later. Oh, is there anything else we might need in here? Well, I am not really seeing anything. Now, if it just could add the John Deere 4045, could get the boom for free, but I don't have one of those. Some good prices on things. Well, now that would just be fun to drive around, but you know, we don't need to be wasting our money right now. So nothing there. All right. Well, we didn't take a lot of stuff to the market, so I know we're going to have a lot of that to do. And I don't know what's wrong with this thing right here. I straightened it up and it keeps going back into that same position. I think it's possessed. Bobby Jo does too. Oh my goodness, look how many mushrooms we have. We have already 6 pallets in there. How many more do we need? Hold on a second. Let me check that. All right. Looks like we just need to have 10 pallets of mushrooms. And we already had, what did I say, 6? 6. So we just need 4 more pallets of mushrooms. Oh, look at that pile of planks over there. All right, so we just need 4 more. So let's get our 4 more. How's everybody doing today? I hope y'all are doing good. I'm doing pretty good. Just have lots of running to do today. Sunday is my family taxi service day. Being a single dad with 4 kids still at home, and 3 of them want to go different places. 3 of the 4 each go to a different place on Sunday. It is really a busy day. Supposed to have gone to I guess it would be my ex-wife's family reunion and one of her aunt's birthdays. They kind of combined those. And she doesn't go to them. It's a long story, but basically none of them want to have anything to do with her. But she burned a lot of bridges, let's just put it that way. But we didn't go yesterday because we had some severe weather come through. And we thought it was going to be a lot worse than it was. But it actually cleared out and then came back. But it cleared out with leaving, you know, for enough time that we could have gone. But unfortunately, we made the decision based on all the weather reports, possible tornadoes and all that kind of crazy stuff. We just felt like it would be better to stay home that day. And my son youngest was very disappointed because he didn't get to go fishing. And it was probably his last time for the year before the weather gets to where it's not good fishing weather anymore. And so he was a little upset about that, but upset that the weather didn't stay bad all day. But, you know, that's kids for you. Alright, we're supposed to have 10 of each of these as well. So how much lettuce do we have? We have 3 lettuce. Well, we're not even close, so all of these are going to go in. We're going to have a busy day because we got to plant some stuff. We need to plant the sorghum. We need to plant carrots and red beets. So we can be ahead of the curve on those. Yeah, I've been watching everybody else's channels that are doing this. Everybody's got just a little bit different of a spin on how they're handling this. I think it's kind of cool. It's really interesting to see everybody else's thought processes for how they're doing things. I think I'm doing fairly well as far as the so far into the second year. I'm going to have to see how long it takes me to, I mean, obviously it's April and we've already got all the mushrooms we need, and we'll need twice as many for next year, for year 3. So I don't think the mushrooms will be a problem. Since Krusty reduce the number of honey. I know I got 2 last year, so I should be able to get 2 this year. I may have to add another one of those large beehives. I'm kind of curious to see how many pallets of honey we get this year without making any changes, and that'll tell me what I need to do for next year. All right. So we have 4 pallets of lettuce, 1 pallet of bread, 10 pallets of enoki, 5 pallets of strawberries, 5 pallets of tomatoes, and other stuff. Well, I don't think this year is going to be a problem with the veggies either. They're looking pretty good. Let's go over here and see what our we got flour in the flour mill. So how is the flour mill doing? Oh, it is already out of sorghum again. I just put a load in there while y'all were away. I put a load in. So oh, we got 2 that time. Oh, we got 2 pallets of bread because I did put some flour in from last time. How are we? How is the... Okay. I'm halfway thinking about, but then that kind of takes all the fun away. I was thinking about putting this onto auto distribute the flour. To the bakery instead of me doing it. That would make sure that the bakery stays full of its input. Although it looks like there's quite a bit of flour right here, so we'll load up the bakery. Oh my goodness, how much flour did we make in that last batch? looks like it's finally at the end of what it had stored up in there. And we'll grab those 2 loaves of two pallets of bread there and put those in the storage. And we need 10 of those. I think we're doing pretty fair on that. How are we on our cheese and must not have those set for spawning. Let's change that. Butter. Spawn. And we are making goat cheese. Alright, those should spawn fairly quickly. And of course it needs more. Whoop. There's the butter. All right. Where's my, there we go. Let's come over here and get our bread. Go drop it off. Let's go get our butter. Let's see if we can get 2 of those. Nope. All right. Let's do it this way. And of course that other one popped out just as soon as I moved. If I'd have waited, I could have just plopped it down. Oh, there's the goat cheese. I thought about raising goats and having the goat cheese and goat milk and doing all that kind of stuff. I'm just getting too old to do that anymore. It's one of the things my wife and I couldn't agree on. She was more of a city girl, which nothing wrong with that. But I was more of a country boy, raised on a farm, grow your own stuff, do all that kind of thing. She really did enjoy the garden, though, the fresh vegetables out of the garden, and she would help with that, but, you know, there's a lot more. Really, she would help when it was time to pick. I remember one time we were where we were living. I built some raised beds in the front yard. We really didn't have much of a backyard to do anything in. It was basically a small backyard that just started where the pasture started for our horses, and so we had more room in the front yard. Put them there. We grew, kind of looked like those open air gardens from Omatana, except we had what was it? 6 raised beds, I think it was. 4 foot across, 16 feet long, and I think we had six beds. We grew corn and beans and tomatoes and peppers and cucumbers and squash and eggplant and what else? We had some cantaloupe and some things like that. Alright, let's see. Let's go check out the goat milk. For the milk, I need to put at least one of these. Is that one's 1,000, that one's 1,000, and that's the new one. Okay. I need to put one of these in storage, and I'll put the other one in the production. We've got enough. Well, we'll just let it keep making. I was going to say we have enough butter for the first quarter, but it is really the end of the first quarter. And we We should have 2.5, which if we check in the production, we probably have a half a pallet of goat cheese in there. I can't tell how many eggs we've got. Alright, we're going to put this in the production. And we'll go check on our eggs. And then we can get started working in the fields. Get our stuff planted. I forgot, you know, Bobby Jo could be helping with the planting now. So let's see about what we can do here. What do we need to do to the fields? Do any of them need to be plowed? Needs plowing. Okay. Just the two that had the root crops in them. One thing I am going to do before we plow those, I'm going to go clean up that edge. There we go. Now let's do the other side. I was afraid to do this in the beginning because I didn't want to lose too much of my crop area. But now that I've seen how much I've got planted, or how much it produced when I harvested. Pardon me, I'm trying to concentrate on this and not make a mistake, even though I'm using the lock that we can do on the PC. to lock our cursor in place. It's still a bit on the dangerous side because of the way they kind of spin off. Maybe I could have cleaned this one up, or I just did a better job at putting it down. All right, those are cleaned up. All right. Let's get the Alice. If you noticed, I gave everything a bath. Cleaned it all up. Made it look nice. Yeah, Bobby Jo likes everything to look nice and clean. I haven't quite got everything cleaned up yet, but it's a work in progress. Alright, let's get this plow on here. Let's see what kind of job Bobby Jo can do on plowing. I really don't want to drive across those crops if we can avoid it. And I'll tell you what, we'll just pretend that whichever AI worker that comes up is Bobby Jo. I tried setting up the hired helper tool to have just one helper and for that to be Bobby Jo, but it kept crashing my game, so we're just going to pretend that whoever that is, Crust2, he keeps hitting the button until he gets the right one, but I'm kind of lazy. So who did we get? Oh, well, that's not Bobby Jo. Hey, watch out for that barley over there now. All right, make that field look good. All right, let's go get the rest. Let's go get our eggs. And then we'll get our stuff for sale. Well, actually, before that, I will even though I have a direct drill, I need to mulch it. Dang it, I should have mulched those before we plowed. Oh well. On the root crops, it's not going to matter that they have a full 100%. Okay, so for eggs, we're going to have 4 pallets, and we have 1.5. Well, that puts us on track pretty much. I think we're gonna be okay. I'm a little nervous there on the milk right now. The honey over there, yeah, that looks like a half a pallet. That's about where we should be. And egg wise, we should have 1 pallet of eggs. Alright, let's see. What do we have? 2 pallets of butter. You should have 2.5. Goat cheese. 2.5. Okay, well, we're okay on those. Oh, we got a 700 liter butter? How do we get a 700 liters of butter? Okay. Well, we have 4 lettuce. Definitely on track for that. 3 bread. On track. 5 pallets of tomatoes already? I'm definitely on track. 1 pallet of goat milk. We should have 1.5, so I'm probably gonna make sure that we get the next pallet of goat milk in here before we put it in a production. So I think we're good there. All right, let's see. We still got stuff to sell. We'll do that later. We need to get this going. So let's get. I don't know. Let's see. What is the requirement of the cultivator? 100 horsepower. We might be not able to do that. 86. I'm gonna try. I am gonna try. I may fail miserably, but I'm gonna try. Oh, but that's the cultivator. I don't need the cultivator. What was I? I'm looking at the wrong thing. I'm confused. I am confused. The mulcher. Oh, it's also 100 horsepower. Well, let's see. Let's see what our little tractor will do. If it will do it or not. Oh, come on. Oh, looks like Bobby Jo is through plowing. Steering assist on. Roller is down. And we're mulching on a bumpy road. Wow, my poor little tractor. My poor little tractor. Uh-oh. What was that? Oh. That was my controller losing power. I had to switch my charging cable from my headset to my controller. I'm gonna have to get another. I have one of these really cool magnetic chargers that you can change the tips on that attach magnetically. Well, whatever we put in here is going to get the full yield bonus. That's for sure. Only takes 2 passes on that. Ooh, do I have crop destruction turned on? I don't remember. Nope, crop destruction is off. Okay. I can safely I don't want to mulch it. We got sorghum and barley. Let's get Bobby Jo over here. This won't take her but a hot minute. Okay. Unfold and lower, lock into place, and get moving. Let me just see something here real quick. Did we actually mulch on the other fields? Yes. Okay. And Bobby Jo is plowing. And I will definitely go ahead and do a jump cut on this. There's no need to bore you with all of the watching of all of this mulching stuff, but I'll bring you back in when we're done, and then we'll go and sell the stuff we need to sell. And then we'll call it an episode. Alright friends, I'll see you back in just a few minutes. Alright, looks like Bobby Jo has finished plowing the fields. Now it's planting time. Excuse me. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to have Bobby Jo plant the sorghum field while I plant carrots and red beets. And I'll show you where I made a little mistake with the mulcher. Got a little carried away, and ended up mulching part of the barley field. You can, there in the distance, you can kind of see it. Put this here. Drop that off. You know, this is kind of crowded under here. I think I missed it there. All right, let's get backed up here. Here we go. Here we go. Let's pull this over here. Out of the way. Now we got to get the fertilizer spreader out of the way. Then we can get to kind of crazy moving all this stuff out of the way just to get to one thing. Well, really two things, but kind of limited on my shed space. Oh, I knew I was going to do that. I knew I was going to do that. Yeah, okay. I can't drive. Come on. Let me go get the see if we can move the fertilizer. Two things. See if we can move it out of the way and just go ahead and empty the fertilizer out, because otherwise I'm gonna have to run up to the store and get some more. That's kind of a rough spot right there. I think I need to smooth that out some more. Shouldn't that attach differently? What is going on? It's not attaching to the 3-point? maybe it's just not going to work with this tractor. It works on the front. That's not where I wanted to put it. But I'll move it. I'm pretty sure I do not have super strength on, so yep, see, I don't have super strength on, so that was just a liftable pallet. Okay. Is that gonna be enough fertilize? Don't know. Can't remember if the AI stops when it runs out of fertilizer, just keeps going. Yep, you can see my little mistake right there, mulched in the barley. I would say that's more than a little mistake, but fortunately I'm just growing that for extra for chicken feed. Hopefully that's not going to be a big deal there. Now we need to change the seed. Sorghum. Alright, Bobby Jo, go to work. And I will get the planter. And we will go a-planting. I'm going to plant carrots in a smaller field because they have a much higher yield than the red beets. So, now see, that worked. That's weird. K-rots. Probably not a good name to call carrots. Alright, let's select the seeds for here. Carrots. Let's back up just a little bit. And let's... What did I forget to do? I forgot to turn on the seeder. Oh, come on. Turn on the seeder. Lower the seeder. And go. And we are planting carrots. Carrots, carrots, carrots. We're gonna have a little struggle going up the hill here. But this Ford can do it. I know it can. Let's get a couple of screenshots. Ooh, the bees, the bees, the bees. They're attacking me. Nope, I'm in a cab. They can't attack me. Right, here we go. You know what this means? We only have one more crop to plant for this challenge after we finish the red beets. We only have to plant rice. And I'm going to plant it right down at the bottom of that hill where the barley is. Since we don't have to do any productions with it, that's going to be the last thing in the last year. Ooh. Steering assist was wanting me to do 2 passes here, but it looks like we'll have to check the map when we're done, but it looks like we're getting everything in 1 pass. Well, if the parsnip harvest is any indication, we should have more than enough carrots. Let's take a quick look at the map. Make sure we covered everything. Looks like carrots. Looks like sorghum's getting planted over there. Yep. And that should be canola in there. So all we have left to do is plant the red beets. I'll turn off the seeder. Then we can select red beets. Now turn the seeder back on. And let's see what we can get planted here. I'm going to tell you, if I was going to be growing carrots and red beets and canning them and doing that on my homestead, I would be doing it for around here. The best way to do it would be in square foot gardens or intensive gardening and raised beds, and doing it that way. I mean, you could amend the soil a whole lot and plant them like directly in the ground and make like raised beds that are not contained. But where we are, we have a they call it black gumbo. It's a dark, very dark black soil that is very gummy, almost a clay-like. And then around, specifically where I'm living right now, we tend to have a lot of clay. I mean, I have to have a multi-stage filtration system on my well, because when they dug it, they went through 2 layers of clay and got, most likely they got a little too close to one of the third layer of clay before they stopped. And we're getting into that clay and we bring it up. And I mean, it's the kind of clay you can make pottery out of. It's no question about it. It fills up our filter canisters to the point to where you have to scrape some of the clay out just to get the canister, the filter out of the canister. Or you use the jet nozzle on the water hose to loosen it and spray it out. And even with the 4-stage system that I built myself, it still lets just a very, very fine amount go through it. I mean, it's letting, the last filter stage is a 1/2 micron, and it's stuff that's smaller than that. And you don't see it in the water, but if you let the water sit for a few hours, you can see it settle in the bottom. And it's not dissolved in it, because the TDS test, the total dissolved solids test, shows it as being very low, and then when we go through one of the countertop filters that is supposed to be a 0 TDS filter, it's actually a 0 TDS when it comes out, but it still has that very, very fine clay. And short of having a new well dug, there's not a lot that can really be done about it at this point. I mean, there may be some things, but I mean, the bottom line is it gets to be expensive. And I have researched and found an ultrafiltration system that I can use that gets down to like 0.02 microns. And I am willing to bet that that's going to take care of a lot of it. Now, the other thing about it'll be a 2-stage filter. Doesn't have to be, but we could put a first stage on it that gets down to like, I forget, I think it's either a 5, 10, or 15 micron filter. But these filters, both of them, are back washable, which means you don't have to change the filter. You just turn a couple of valves and reverse the flow of water, and it flushes all the whatever it's filtered out of the filter. And so rather than having to, the cartridge filters that we buy are supposed to last for 3 months, and they last about on a good cycle they last about a month. And here lately we've got a leak in our line, and so it's constantly running water through, so the filters are only lasting about 2 weeks. And you know, aside from the cost of replacing the filters that often, there is the just the hassle of doing it, and that's not always convenient to go and do it. And it affects the water pressure in the house, because it's a major water pressure drop across the filters when they get fully involved, if you will want to call it that. But yeah, but that, I mean, it goes back to, let me go back to what I was talking about the doing them in raised beds. I think I described that before, where I did raised beds that looked like Omatana's open garden, just a little smaller. And you'd be surprised what you can grow in a pretty small amount of space. Now, there are things, you know, corn, I would still probably, we did it, but it took up a lot of space in the garden. And how much more? Is it just starting to do the headlands? Okay. We would do it just the corn took up a lot of space, and I think it would do better planted in the ground. with wouldn't have to be raised beds, just more like traditional rows. And which is what I did at my second big garden. Second big garden, we lived at a place for a short time, but they had previously raised cattle, and they had a feed lot on their right next to their barn, and it was all fenced off, you know, and everything, so it's pretty good size. And so I decided that that's where I was going to put the garden. And let me tell you, all that, I don't know how many years of cow manure and all of the stuff that is the, you know, fodder and stuff that's dropped down in there and everything. I'm gonna tell you what, that was the best garden I've had ever. I mean, you could literally go out in the morning and the squash would be blooming, and by afternoon the squash would be almost too big to be any good. And I mean, it would literally grow that fast. Never seen anything like that, and I haven't seen anything like that since. But we also had a lot of weed problems. There's a weed that we have around here that's typical in the cattle feedlot, and they have thorns, and they're just nasty things. And we had a pretty bad problem with those. So caused us some issues. All right, now we'll let this finish. We'll let her finish this, and I'm gonna go and we'll finish this off camera, I guess. We'll go ahead. It's getting to be a longer episode, so we'll call it an episode here, and off camera I'll go ahead and go and sell all the stuff that needs to be sold, and then we'll call it a day, and then we can get the rest of our stuff fertilized. I may go ahead and fertilize the 2 root crop fields off camera to get those done, so that we'll be ready, and just bring you back for May, and we'll see where we are then. Thank you for hanging out with me, and appreciate that. Would you, if you haven't already, if you'd subscribe, and if you liked the episode, just hit the like button there and click that bell to get your notifications when the new videos drop, which I do have a new series that'll be coming out very shortly. And you might want to look for that. We'll be in Argentina. But yeah, hit that notification button, make some comments, let me know what you think, what you like, what you don't like, and all that kind of stuff. So take care, friends, and have yourself a good day. Goodbye for now.